Hello, welcome to the live stream. I actually have sleeves on today because it is the end of October and finally fall has started. Let me know if it is actually I'm showing up. You can see and hear me and everything. I am getting a bitrate warning on YouTube, and Aaron says it's fine. It'll go away once you start. And I was about to say it didn't go away, but then it did. So never mind. Anyway, welcome today. Despite all of the Halloween stuff going on behind me, the topic today is in fact finance, as is supposed to be the theme of this program. And we are going to talk about, despite the fact that everything is really stressful and the world seems to be kind of on a doom level path, like the bees are dying, kind of feels like we're living under the threat of nuclear war. There's war going on in Europe, an oil crisis, lettuce outlasted the Prime Minister of Britain. The former president of the United States has been subpoenaed for a sedition hearing for an insurrection on the U.S. Capitol. Like, despite all of that stuff, we are going to talk about how to still make plans for your money and care about plans for your money. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about recession tips. And, recession is there. We're probably in it now. I've talked about before how the data suggests the U.S. economy is in a recession. Almost certainly the United Kingdom is in a recession. And a good chunk of Europe appears to be hovering on the precipice of recession, as well as a lot of the global south. And China's been in a recession for the past 2 quarters, probably. China's got some interesting political stuff going on as well. All of this to say, recession is coming. And this is not my first rodeo. I have, in fact, lived through a recession before, as many of you have. But maybe some of you were not old enough or not on the job market during the last recession. I was. So I would love to talk about some kind of strategies from both like an economic and a finance perspective, but also just like a personal existential survival tactics for a recession. I think I've done a couple previous live streams on recessions and like financial tactics, but you know what? You can never use too many tips. Bitrate recession. Okay, good. Peter says, good evening. All looks and sounds good. Great, solid quality. New World One says ears. Yes, I forgot I have these. I got these at a clothing swap 2 weeks ago, and they just they feel like they almost just grow out of my head. I wasn't feeling up for like the full, I felt like between not wanting to put my contacts in and wearing my glasses and these like massive glasses and the pumpkin earrings and the bat shirt, and I'm also wearing a pumpkin skirt. Like, I just felt like it was a lot, and the ears, believe it or not, were my subtle headpiece that I was gonna put on. But don't they just like look like they go in my hair? I mean, I'm very impressed. It's a headband, but it's a black headband, so it works in my hair. Really go with the glasses. We're in a lettuce session. I don't know if people saw. Should we talk about the little lettuce thing? Because I actually feel like it kind of ties in today with today's topic, which is partially just finding some of the joy in the doom. And, well, the UK politics and the absolute financial crisis that has been brought on by a series of policies by the Conservative government, and particularly Liz Truss, Prime Minister. I do think that one of the joyful things about dealing with crisis is that there's always, like, even when things are really bad, sometimes people's ability to find humor in them and like make fun of them, which I think the United Kingdom is particularly good at. I think that is one of the hopeful things that you can have even when times are bad. And this whole lettuce thing started when The Economist wrote an article saying that Liz Truss, like the prime minister, her tenure didn't look like it had much longer than the shelf life of an average grocery store lettuce. And in reaction to that, a tabloid, the Star in Britain, then started live streaming a lettuce dressed as Liz Truss. And it was a continual live stream of a head of lettuce from, I think, Tesco. And it was, who will last longer, the lettuce or the lettuce or Liz Truss? And the lettuce did win. Additionally, there was like even conspiracy theory truthers that were like, the lettuce is actually a cabbage, which obviously has a longer shelf life than a lettuce. But then there was like investigation, kind of faux investigation pieces that did discover it was in fact a lettuce. And then the lettuce gave a speech after Liz Truss resigned. I mean, the sheer audacity. And then it escalated where the lettuce was projected on the side of Parliament in the United Kingdom. And it's like, just absolute chaos. Here, let me show you the Parliament. And there was even a live stream of it being projected on the side of Parliament. Here we go. Let's share this for you guys. Oh, no. Oh, why are you not sharing, guys? There we go. And look at this. Look at the Star projecting the lettuce. I mean, the absolute ridiculousness of this entire thing. The lettuce's speech, I actually caught the lettuce's speech live, and it was, you know, they put the real energy into it. So, you know, we've got what we have. Wig is the best. I also appreciated that, like, the things next to her on the live stream, like, changed as things went on. Like, she had, like, a Greg's container, and then after she outlasted the actual Liz Truss, the lettuce, like, had, like, bottles in celebration on it. Live stream lettuce, hold on. I'm doing important work over here. Okay. This ridiculousness. Okay, so this is how it started. And then, like, it escalated. Oh, this isn't the actual one. But yeah, it had, like, a little celebration, and then later on, there was, like, a bunch of different things. Angela says, oh, the things you miss while sick. I mean, you could have just been sick watching a live stream of a lettuce. That's all the live stream was just a live stream of a head of lettuce with, like, breaking news things at the bottom. New World One says, we need the ridiculousness of all this to survive mentally. I mean, props. Maggie Underwood says, is this the Emmy riding sweater? No, the riding sweater is not a cardigan. This is the ice skater cardigan, but it is from Emmy Design Sweden. It's I got it like 70% off because it was the previous one. Still, you know, not cheap because it's a wool sweater made in Europe, but it is nice. I'm hoping though I get to reveal the full bat outfit, but it's actually, I'm just still chilly. As memes go, lettuce was spot on. I agree. I feel like we could have done a better lettuce pun in that, but let us get over it. Yes. Geograph Concept says, I saw the live stream of it getting projected. Also, the music video of Liz Truss to Blank Space. Oh man, that's good. Speaking of blank space, only little bit related, but I, bless the algorithm. The algorithm actually turned up for me a video of like a super small YouTuber with like 100 subscribers at the time. I mean, and I'm saying super small YouTuber, so you really know that's true because, I have a grand total of like 1,000 subscribers. Someone with like 100 subscribers who had a really well done piece on the Gaylor Swift from like a semi-academic perspective, all the Gaylor Swift kind of fan theories and like why people engage with this, and it was extremely hi Jackson. Your video was great. Everybody should go check out Jackson's channel if you have any interest in the Gaylor Swift conspiracy theories. As someone who is not, I would not describe myself as a Swiftie. I would describe, like, I will not stay up till midnight for almost anyone's album release because I am an old person. But I really appreciate the Gaylor Swift conspiracy theories because they're not really conspiracy theories. Like, most of them are just pretty solid, like, they can get really wild, like many other things. And I think that there's something to be said for, like, speculating on the sexuality of public figures is, like, not fair. But I think there's one thing to be looking for clues that someone is in a community that you're in, especially when they haven't expressly said that they have any issues with people speculating about their sexuality, and they've also never claimed that they're straight. Anyway, Jackson's video is very good if you've been wondering. Like, as someone who's just very kind of casually into it, like, they end up on my TikTok algorithm page, which I've once again deleted off my phone because I can't have it on my phone, TikTok. Both makes me feel bad about what I'm not doing. Geograph Concept says a celebrity in our midst. I'm serious. Jackson's video was great. So anyway, should we talk about, we have to introduce the donut. Sorry, y'all. We will do this after we do a little bit of recession talk. But this is a vegan pumpkin mousse donut. I actually don't think that I'm gonna dig this one today. But we are talking dough and eating donuts, and I gotta try all the like pumpkin themed ones. The reason I don't think I like it is I think it's gonna be too sugary and too rich, but this is mousse and not frosting. So I'm hoping that it'll be good. Betty says TikTok is dangerous. It genuinely is. It is so dangerous. It's like, because I broke my phone last week, as I mentioned on the live stream last week, and I now have a new phone, I was like organizing my apps because actually, unfortunately, a ton of my apps, aren't in the App Store anymore. And so I couldn't have them again. So I was like organizing everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to delete TikTok off my phone again. The thing is, I forget the app exists for weeks at a time because I am not terminally online younger generation, I would say. But I tend to when I do open it, I'm opening it because I'm explicitly I would like to waste some time, but then I waste way more time than I want to. It also makes me feel very guilty for not making content on there. And then occasionally the financial content finds its way in there. And there are some people making good, honest financial content on TikTok. And then there are also some people making wild misinformation claims on TikTok. And it's really concerning for me. And so I tend to get really stressed out. I will say a TikTok appeared on my Twitter because once again, I am an old person. So I consume TikToks on other platforms a lot of the time about hot tips for pumpkin carving. And I am going to carve this pumpkin today, and because now we're a week away from Halloween, so I feel like hopefully it won't mold despite the Oregon weather. And I was gonna play it on this live stream and see if anybody could confirm it for me, because I feel like this could be pumpkin carving misinformation, but it all feels like it could be right. Eric says TikTok equals FOMO. I don't tend to get FOMO. Instagram gives me FOMO, which is also what the studies reflect. But the TikTok doesn't give me FOMO because the kind of content I tend to consume there tends to be people talking about their like getting out of conservative religious backgrounds or like lesbian thirst traps. Like the stuff that I consume on TikTok just has absolutely does just not give me FOMO. So it although I also get a lot of what's the word, like transportation engineering things, and which is, I'm impressed that it's figured out that part of me. But yeah, probably because my IRL friends are all people I know from transportation world, and because of that, like, I have some of my IRL friends, the very, very small amount of my IRL friends that actually make TikToks, almost all of which because they work in advocacy and therefore have to do it for advocacy purposes, the very small amount of them that make TikToks. I also don't get a lot of ice skating TikToks, and I've tried to follow like every figure skating creator I can find on there, but the algorithm doesn't seem to believe I'm a real figure skater. I don't know. New World One says, I honestly cannot stand TikTok. Loud autoplay videos are a big no-no for me. I mean, I think that's great. I think that staying away from platforms that don't bring you joy is exactly one of the things I'm going to talk about when talking about how not to be stressed. Geograph Concept says, I have relegated TikTok time to while I am brushing my teeth and while I am doing Bike Desk, which now makes me do both of those tasks. Okay, but isn't the point of Bike Desk to do like productive things while you're biking? I'm confused. Because for me, I wouldn't want to, yeah. I mean, I guess I don't ride my bike in my house. I ride my bike places, so it's harder for me to conceive of that, but pumpkin carving misinformation is a new low for TikTok. Okay. We'll get to the finance things, but I have a real, I want you to tell me if this is real, this pumpkin carving TikTok. But now I have to try to find it. I put it on the screen before this, and then I filled it up with Liz Trust. Okay, we're going. There we go. Now, this is my question. Is this real? Oh no. Oh, now it won't play. My iPad has broken. Is the sound on, you all? Please tell me if the sound is on. We are not hearing sound. Oh, okay. That is a problem I need to solve. Okay, I'll come back to it. This person seems, oh no, the mixer. Aaron says, oh, 1 sec, I can do it. Okay, Aaron's gonna fix that for me. You have to like figure skating videos for them to show up on your page. I do like them. I get way more figure skating content on Instagram, although since Instagram started promoting Reels, fewer people make Reels for Instagram. The Explore page used to show me a lot of figure skating and ballet. I don't know. Maggie in the Woods says, I want that lady to teach me to do everything. Do you know who she is, or you're just like getting that kind of vibe? All right, we'll come back to the pumpkin situation, which I do want to point out is just like continuing to autoplay on my streaming equipment, so it's distracting me because I'm a 5-year-old. There we go. I just paused the video, so it doesn't distract me. Maggie Underwood says she just has a vibe and a cardigan. She really has like an extremely like Vermont grandmother, young grandmother kind of vibe, or like upper Minnesota, HR professional who also knits a bunch of sweaters on the weekend kind of vibes. I'm here for it. It's the sweater. It's always a sweater. All right, let's talk a little bit about how to approach the world and how to approach your money and actually care about money. Like it can be really challenging right now to want to so to speak, do the right things when it comes to your finances when it feels like the world is feeling very doomed right now. And we talked about this previously, like summer of 2020, when we were dealing with, a reckoning around racial justice, huge lines at food banks, the devastation that COVID-19 was having on especially elderly and disabled populations, and the, mortality rate. Like we talked about, I did a podcast episode about how to care about your money when everything is not okay. And most of those tips still apply, but we're far into this. And, since then, a lot more stuff has gone down, including the Ukrainian war, January 6th, all sorts of bad things have been happening since then. And I think that the way that you approach things that might have felt different in June of 2020, when it kind of felt like maybe things were going to get better soon, right? It still felt temporary. Remember when we all got locked down in March 2020 and we were like, oh, in 2 weeks we'll be out of this. I think that it is important to reassess how you are approaching things, especially when you realize that we are in a marathon of the march of bad events happening in our world, not a sprint. And that, I think, is incredibly important when you are looking at your financial goals, when you're looking at how to survive the financial upheaval, especially a lot of European and the United Kingdom, like currencies are going through and a lot of economies are dealing with right now. The entire world is pretty much dealing with inflation, and as we've discussed before, the reason we're dealing with inflation is because economies had to spend money to prevent people from dying from COVID-19. We had to spend money on vaccine research. We had to spend money on getting vaccines to people. We had to spend money on crisis care, on supporting industries that had to be shut down for social distancing. And when you have government spending to prevent human suffering in unprecedented crises, as much as we hate that word, unprecedented, because it's overused. But when you have that kind of spending, there becomes a point at which that kind of spending is going to catch up with your economy. There's some other factors that are going into inflation, the choke on supply chains, the fact that workers are getting, because it has been so stressful, especially for lower wage workers, and many of which are essential workers that worked on-site, in person, dealt with angry customers, dealt with wearing masks while doing physical labor jobs, got us all of our things delivered to our door if you're a white-collar worker. Because so many of those workers were dealing with the financial stresses of the pandemic, and now with prices going up on essentials, which always affects lower wage workers so much, a lot of workers are demanding higher wages, as we should. Because the gap between the lowest paid workers and the highest paid workers has been growing and growing in every developed economy in the world for the past 20 years. But because of that kind of the stress and the demands that people put forward, the huge drive towards unionization again in the United States, which, by the way, tends to happen after economic strife and crises. We've already seen that in the past, we see after large events that we start to see more push towards unionization around the world. We saw a huge push towards it after World War I, then again after World War II. We saw a push for it post-Great Depression. So when you're looking at unionization amongst labor, and when you're seeing workers demanding higher wages, often it comes after traumatic events. And all of this is contributing towards inflation. And inflation is something that is one of the most tangible in our everyday lives economic indicators, right? Yes, rising interest rates affect you if you hold debt where the interest rate changes. They affect you if you're trying to borrow money. When you as an individual, when you're like, oh, I want to buy a house, but like mortgage rates are now 5%, which, just to be clear, is still historically low. We got just used to bottom of the basement interest rates. But if you're trying to borrow money, yes, rising interest rates, you feel it. But rising interest rates, they are an incredibly important metric to the economy overall. Economists are obsessed with them. Really large businesses that have a lot of leverage are obsessed with them. But they don't affect your everyday life unless you're trying to borrow money in the way where inflation does. If every single week when you go fill up your grocery cart, it costs more money, you notice that. And so a lot of what drives our economic forecasts and if a recession is coming is actually consumer confidence. Why is consumer confidence down? Because we notice that prices are going up faster than a lot of us are getting raises waged. We're starting to notice that, we're starting to notice that prices are rising, our wages aren't keeping up, especially if you are a lower or middle income worker. And therefore, like a higher percentage of your total expenses comes from the things that are seeing the biggest increases, which are, of course, oil and food, both of which are related. So, when you see those kind of jumps, you feel it, and then you feel negative. And then that consumer confidence impacts economies as a whole. So it's important to understand how all of this stuff feeds in together, and that isn't to tell you to not feel very reasonable reactions to inflation. Inflation is frustrating. It is scary. Man, I am big mad about how much my grocery bill has gone up as someone who's had it very consistent for years. But I think it is also important to remember when looking down a recession and when looking down these really stressful events is that recessions are not new. These have been going on for a long time. There's something called the business cycle where we have this massive expansion, which, by the way, we had a historically long expansion. We were riding high with low interest rates and low unemployment rates. Even through the COVID-19 pandemic, we had crazy low unemployment rates. After the immediate high unemployment that we had March through May 2020, we recovered very quickly. Which, by the way, I'm referring to the U.S. economy here. It's different. Obviously, unemployment rates are local. That's how you feel it. But and they are different in every country. But generally, it's important to remember that this is part of a cycle, and it sucks because sometimes you cannot control what stage of your life you're in and what tools you have at your disposal when it comes to a recession. When we're dealing with that economy contracting, which is part of the natural cycle, we don't want it to go up and up and up and up forever because bad businesses will make more and more profits. They will continue to succeed despite the fact that they shouldn't succeed in a perfect marketplace. I mean, once again, being an economist and pretending everything is perfect and that the economy all makes sense. But you don't want it to go up and up forever because that kind of expansion not only is terrible for the environment, it's also terrible because it continues to reward bad behavior. And so when you deal with this contraction, it's part of a natural business cycle. I think and if you have what is called overheated economy, as we experienced, it was overheated because we were pouring a lot of money into it due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But when you have that money poured into the economy, what happens? Well, you've got inflation. And so if we want to stop the inflation, the economy is going to contract. So it's just important to remember that recessions are not new. There's a couple things driving the current recessions. I mean, the UK is I think it's fairly obvious what's going on in the UK, or maybe it's not. Should I do an entire live stream just talking about what's happening with the UK and gilts and the financial crisis and with lettuce? Should I have a lettuce back here instead? But there is a war happening in Ukraine. We still have disrupted supply chains. China, which has the no COVID, zero tolerance policy and has been sticking to it despite the fact that the rest of the world has kind of figured out that's very hard to do, and has a command economy. China is having a significant influence on the supply chains of the world. There's other reasons the supply chains are contracted, which also has to do with the fact that labor is still hard to find because, silver lining, unemployment is low. So how do you survive a recession? What are the important things to remember? One, cash is king. And I know it's easy to say, well, yeah, cash solves all of your problems when you like, yeah, if I had some cash, it would solve all of my problems. But when you are kind of approaching financial decisions, knowing that we are either in a recession, depending on where you are, or probably at the beginning of one, it's important to think about your decisions in terms of prioritizing cash. And that's because, you know, the time of cheap borrowing is over. Interest rates are going up. So cash, paying for stuff in cash, makes more sense than it ever did. You know, there were people that were out there that are like, why would I ever pay off my mortgage early when I could invest in the stock market instead? And I will get better returns on that. That all makes sense unless your mortgage is starting to approach the levels of interest rates that people that have been taking them out in the past couple years. If you've got revolving debt, if you've got credit cards or other high interest debt, your Klarna payments, your rent-to-own furniture, variable student loan amounts, second mortgages, if you've got high interest debt, that debt is going to get more and more expensive, especially if it has a variable interest rate like something like a credit card debt might have. And cash helps so much more. So prioritizing holding on to cash can make a huge difference. And this is where one of those silver lining kicks in. If you prioritize having cash, recessions open up more opportunities. If you're someone that's looking for a house, housing prices are finally coming down. We don't know if they're actually going to come down to a reasonable level because they were at really stratospheric levels. Once again, another downside of the economy, like rapidly expanding, people looking for places to invest, places to put their money because the economy had been expanding for so long. That's one of the reasons that housing prices drove up. It's obviously complex, and I wrote a whole thesis on the housing market, so, but it's important to recognize that if you do have cash, you have more opportunities. You have more ability to take advantage of some of the upsides of a recession. So for me, an example is because I have the US dollar and a lot of other currencies right now on a very small scale. A lot of other currencies are trading poorly vis-a-vis the US dollar. Because the US dollar is very strong relative to economies that are affected more by the Ukraine war, and also Japan, which has had a deflating currency for years, because of that, I was able to utilize the cash I had to get stuff on a sale. This is a really small amount, but I was able to, transfer money into my multi-currency bank account that I have so that I could buy like clothing brands like the Emmy Sweden sweaters that I like. It's a really small form of self-arbitrage, but on the bigger level, if you own a business, if you have cash, you're going to be more likely to be able to make more negotiations with businesses because you're not relying on credit. When you are not seeking and looking for a lender and you are not constantly having to pay interest and service that debt, you have more opportunities. From a personal standpoint, the fact that I have such a large emergency fund and I prioritized the emergency fund, even when people were telling me, oh, but that should be invested instead. And I was like, I'm investing, but I'm also holding on to cash over and above what I have put into that investments. Because I have that very large emergency fund, I have a lot more negotiating power. I'm not going to have to take the worst job, which is exactly what I dealt with the last recession, and for people that lived through the last recession, I think it is useful to think about how different your life is from there. And one, in hindsight, what you wish you would have done differently. But for me, in order to kind of quell some of the anxiety I have, I keep reminding myself that no, I have like 15 more years of work experience than I did during the last recession. I have a degree. I've published a book. I've published hundreds of podcasts. I have a high earning spouse. I have a much larger emergency fund than I did last time. I have a deep contact of networks. Like, I have a lot more safety net than I did last time when I was working when the recession hit as a farm worker and a dishwasher. it's important to recognize the things that you have now. And even if you're in actually a worse financial position than you were last time, you do have the experience of having lived through it before. And that gives you the opportunities to make different decisions than you did last time and make choices that you wish you would have made last time. It's also like important to think about the ways in which the economy has changed overall. So like, for example, like last recession, I have a out of area phone number because even though I lived in Oregon at the time, I still had my Cincinnati area phone number. And that was one of the things that was a concern on getting called back on resumes. People wouldn't want to call an out of area phone number because they were like, oh, this person might not live here or they might not have ties to the community. That is absolutely not a thing anymore. People are not worried about that. And in addition, you aren't even having to be tied to looking for a job in your community anymore because remote work has changed so much. The opportunities to do remote work. It wasn't possible to post an hour-long video on the internet, especially for free during the last recession. I think it's like, most of us did not have iPhones during the last recession. At the very tail end of it, some people did. I certainly didn't. I wasn't rich enough to have a smartphone. It's just important, and Jenny, as we talked about last week, still has the candy bar phone I had during the last recession. So it's important to recognize that like things have changed when it comes to the opportunities and the ways to navigate around this. We're so much more connected to the world at large. There's so many more ways that we can shift and adapt and share resources that just didn't exist during the last pandemic. Or during the last recession. They did exist during the last pandemic, although I feel like we're always on the edge of a pandemic, aren't we? So I think it's important to kind of recognize that. And the, like, kind of next thing that you should maybe think about and conquer is if you do have high interest debt, now is a great opportunity to see if you can focus on actually paying down that, getting rid of it. And that is because that high interest debt is going to get more and more expensive. So focusing on your debt is a really great opportunity to prepare yourself for recessionary situations if you have the cash flow. Eric says 10-minute videos max. I know, I remember my YouTube account, which is about to turn 17 years old, like in 2 months or something like that. I made a documentary, which we finally dug off my old computer, but it was my first documentary I ever made. It was a 20-minute long documentary about intentional communities in Oregon, because I lived in intentional communities at the time. And I wanted to post it to YouTube, but I couldn't because it was 20 minutes long. Burley says, what about starting grad school at this time? For example, dental school. Well, this is actually a really great example of the kinds of things that we can talk about when we talk about counter-cyclical industries. So one, you're talking about exactly what I did. During the last recession, the job market was really tough. And, I saw someone replace me for my $800 a month AmeriCorps position that had a master's degree. And I went, crap, I'm a high school dropout and a college dropout. Maybe I should go back and get my degree. And I also saw people I would not get the call back just because I didn't have the bachelor's degree. And so I used that opportunity to go back to school. A lot of other people do that during recessions because school is actually, like, additional training is a good place to wait out a recession. The only downside about that is if you do have to borrow, you are going to be borrowing at higher interest rates for student loans. Student loans in the US is such a complicated topic these days that's a whole separate live stream. I've done a ton of different ones on the student loans, and I need to do an update soon because the student loan forgiveness application is live starting tomorrow. It's technically live and up right now, but they're not allowed to forgive any debt before tomorrow's date. So anyway, you should apply if you qualify for that. But I will do a live stream specifically about that. I guess the thing I want to emphasize about going back to school is, for a lot of people, this is the kind of decision that they do make during a recession. And this points to you, if you are not in that category, which I think it's a great opportunity to go back and retrain for a different industry, to get more credentials in your field, especially if you are having trouble getting hired. It's a good place to wait out a recession. But on the other side of that, if you are looking for a job and you are struggling to find industries that are hiring, once again, right now, unemployment is still historically low, so this is a little less true, but think about what kind of industries are counter-cyclical. That means when the economy is doing poorly, they're actually doing well. One of the first examples of that is education. And that is because when times are tough, when the job market is tough, people go back to school. So education is a counter-cyclical industry. Alcohol and sin industries are also counter-cyclical industries, and that's because we drink our sorrows away. Other kinds of counter-cyclical industries are things like debt collection and wait, why am I struggling to come up with any other counter-cyclical industries, y'all? You think I know this. You think my economics education that I got during the last recession would teach me something about this. I think and then if you're not thinking counter-cyclical, but you are thinking for either investing purposes or employment purposes, you are trying to think of industries that will be hiring even when the economy is doing poorly. Think about the kinds of things that you need regardless. These are, we call them utility stocks in investing, but these are companies like, for example, utility companies. People don't usually tend to drop their consumption of their water, gas beyond, a little bit of trimming. Those are the kinds of industries that continue. Things like pharmaceuticals, although in the United States, people are likely to not fulfill their drug prescriptions because our healthcare is a hellscape. Anyway, moving along. Think about the kind of investments and the kind of industries that you need regardless. The kind of things that are core, not things that are luxury, right? Like one of the first industries to get hit during a recession, as we already saw during the crisis that resulted from the COVID-19 pandemic, is usually hospitality and travel. It's very possible that this recession is not going to look like other recessions simply because it's coming off of this weird pandemic experience. And so many fundamentals of a lot of the economies of the world have changed in the past 2 years. But generally, people stay away from the world of, I completely lost track of what I was saying, y'all. I was in the middle of my sentence, and then I looked at the chat, and then my brain just went, pshh. Okay. I need to catch up on that. I really just feel like we are still feeling like the world is ending. Why is it ending in a new and different way? I think that is very common, especially for people that are in their 20s and 30s, because we have really only ever known like a world that kind of felt like it's ending. But now the economy is reflecting that. And I think it is worthwhile reminding people that we've been on this path before of like, when I get stressed about climate change, which I do on a pretty regular basis, one thing I like to remind myself is that, all predictions were in the late 1800s that if nothing was done, the streets of London would be completely covered in horse manure, and they would drown in the horse manure if they didn't find a solution to the horse manure from carriages and horses problem. And all projections were really dire. And guess what happened? New technologies came out. The bicycle came out, the car came out, and we stopped using horses for transportation. And suddenly the streets of London were not up to our noses in horse manure. So I like to think about the hope of the fact that humans have been at really dire points in the past. And luckily, our ingenuity and our absolute refusal to die as a species has allowed us to continue to persist and find new ways to undo the bad things we've done in the past. Geograph Concept says, I would like to be a rich millionaire at this stage in my life so I can handle a recession better. Wouldn't we all? But I think it's also important to remember that, like, not to say that you should cry a river for millionaires, but a lot of times people that have higher net worths actually have much more of their net worth on paper, meaning it's stocks and bonds, and it is the kind of net worth that is down right now. And because it is the kind of net worth that is down, a lot of millionaires are not millionaires anymore. And, this is one of the reasons that cash is king, because you are likely to have more of your assets in cash if you are not a rich millionaire or multimillionaire. And so, yes, absolutely, they can weather the recession better than us because they're doing better. But they tend to have riskier positions. They tend to have more money tied up in assets that are hard to liquidate. They tend to have more money tied up in stocks and bonds. And because of that, there are advantages to having the kind of mix of assets that you have when you're a college student. It is a very cute cardigan. Thank you. I appreciate the, I wanted it for a long time. Geograph Concepts says, well, when the last recession happened, I was in 8th grade. Oh my God. Every time I hear things like that, I know it, but then I just forget that, when you forget that not everyone is your age or older and that grown adults were not born, during 9/11. Geograph Concept says, me except for an MLIS. Angela says, I lost my house in the last recession. I understand now why my family needs to survive now. So I am not in the best situation now, but we can still continue to pay our mortgage. I also think that I'm sorry you lost your house in the last recession. And I'm happy that you have a mortgage again now and that you were able to recover from, the foreclosure and the hit to your credit. I think this is a great example. A lot of us still have a lot of residual trauma from the last recession and the really bad things that happened. But one thing that came out of the last recession was that I'm not even going to talk about the CFPB court decision, but there is more protections in place, and we are seeing far less of the type of mortgages that got people into the situations they got into last time. The lending to people that weren't qualified, lending people too much, the no assets, no income, NINA mortgages that we were seeing, the subprime mortgages, the second and third mortgages a lot of people were borrowing against their house, those things, which were often not the fault of the people that took them out. They were the fault of lenders that should have not been lending such risky assets. They certainly shouldn't have been bundling them into these very secure assets that a bunch of pensions bought up, but that's a different story. But it's important to remember that we are collectively better prepared because the last recession did have a lasting impact on the type of consumer financial products, particularly mortgages, that can have place. And the advantage of the mortgages is that the rates have been so low the past couple years that we have the advantage of there's a lot fewer people that have bought their home in the lead up while the economy was good that are dealing with these insanely high and these variable interest rates that we had in the last recession. So, when we're looking for silver linings, I think that is one of those things. Oh my, okay. But then undid it. A different one undid it. We'll talk more about it. Newbold One says the BBC News website is stuffed with articles on money saving at the moment. One headline I saw, we're in this together. No, we're not. I don't think Britain has been described as together on anything except clapping for people last year. Public transport, the tube. Yeah, although the tube is so hella expensive, so Paying off high interest debt, another example. One last thing I want to talk about recessions before I talk more about the general existential crisis, and then we eat the donut, is things that you can like do in your life that are just kind of strategic things that you can do going into a recession. So if you are employed and you have work benefits, even small work benefits, like they'll pay $50 for you to like, join a gym or something like that, or you get discounts on teeth whitening. I don't know. Even if you have really small, minor fringe benefits at work, fringe benefits are one of those things that are likely to get cut as corporations are looking to cut expenses because they tend to not be the core reason that people join a company. Take advantage of those benefits now. And that also includes, like, if you have employer paid health, dental, vision insurance, use those things. Make those doctor's appointments that you've been putting off before you're in a situation of not having insurance, either because you've lost your job or you see some kind of cutback at work, right? There's no requirement for vision or dental if you have it through work. They can't cut your health insurance, but they could cut your hours and then make you not eligible for health insurance anymore, or they can let you go. So using benefits at work, especially those kind of more minor benefits that you keep thinking you're going to take advantage of, now is a really good time to utilize those. Bus passes is a great example. Bus passes, parking passes, those are great examples. Geograph Concept says, if they cut my bus pass, I will quit. I mean, I think that's also good to establish your line in the sand around these kind of things. Angela says, thank you, I am doing better. I'm glad to hear it. And then let's talk a little bit more about dealing with the existential, like, threats when it comes to being really concerned and wrapped up about how hard the world is. I think I tend to get really discouraged personally when I think about things when it comes to the collective, because I can be like, why are we not doing anything about climate change? Or like, why does only a small portion of the world, why are we expecting Gen Z to undo climate change and the rest of us are not? Like, what is it like to live in a divided country? Why we keep having all these financial crises? Why is Russia think attacking a sovereign state is reasonable? When I think about things in the collective, I get really stressed. But when I think about individual actions, I tend to feel a lot more optimistic, because dealing with people on an individual basis, I tend to get a little less depressed. I think if you focus on the, like, why doesn't this individual care as much about this thing as me, doesn't feel great. But if you focus on, like, why is this individual acts of kindness that are happening, a great way to do that is to also a good recession survival tactic. Get involved, find your community, get involved in your community. You don't need to do this alone. The things that saved a lot of people during the last recession were things like volunteering at food banks and working with groups that help your neighbors. Just connecting with your neighbors around things like buy nothing groups in your neighborhood, or offering to trade, like babysitting for raking leaves or helping pick up groceries. Community gets us through hard times. Community is what is necessary to deal with economic upheaval, and it saves you money. And getting involved in community things, which doesn't have to be formal volunteering. This isn't meant to make you feel bad because you're because you're working jobs and you feel like you can't afford the time to volunteer at the food bank. You may not be in the stage in your life where you can do active, concrete volunteering. But finding the parts of community that you need. If it's other parents that you can have a babysitting circle from, if you have neighbors that have a garden and you instead, roast coffee in your popcorn maker at home, a real thing people do, having those kinds of trades and community makes hard times work so much better. It doesn't have to even be in person, although I do think in-person community feels a lot better than having all of your social interaction be online, simply because, one, a lot of us are sick of that over the past couple years. And I know it is a necessity for some people. They don't have the physical ability to be going out and doing things. They don't have the energy management, and online communities work for them. And I think online communities are still important. But the thing about online communities is you've got the bad with the good. And for a lot of us, they tend to not fulfill some of the social connection that we need. They don't fully round out our social connection. And where is online? Online is also filled with the bad news. Which is my second tip, which is one of the things I kind of started this talking about, which is that I deleted TikTok off my phone. And this is just generally, you don't have to be informed about every single bad thing happening in the world. I know it can make you feel like, oh, I absolutely need to stay informed because otherwise I'm a bad person because I'm not keeping track of what's happening in Iran and what's happening in Ukraine and what's happening in the Tigray region. And, Turkey is having massive inflation and Russians are fleeing their homes. Right now, I'm in the process of building a triplex, which is an incredibly privileged position to be in. And at the same time, I know people that have had to contemplate if they leave their homes in Russia with no plan because they don't want to be mobilized. To go kill innocent Ukrainians. It's okay to make the choices about where you put your energy. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person because you can't care and follow about everything. We don't have the capacity to do that. There wasn't the expectation that we do that until social media made it so much more easily accessible to us at all times. It's okay to put yourself on an information diet. It's okay to say, I'm going to listen to the morning radio. I'm going to get the 10-minute news update, and that's all the news I'm going to get. It's okay to say, I am only going to care about local politics because that's something I feel like I can influence. You can say, I'm only going to care about making sure we get a speed camera installed on the intersection near my house. That can be the thing you care about. You can't care about all of the things at once. So figure out the ways to not make yourself get into that existential spiral. And for me, some of that is I don't have Twitter on my phone. I don't have TikTok on my phone. I do use Twitter, but I only use it on a computer where I'm more able to kind of control what I see and I don't get stuck on the endless scrolling / arguing with strangers about healthcare in the United States, which is really like the problem for me. And it never leaves me feeling good. I only engage in the Oh My Dollar online community, really, and certain Tumblr fandom communities. And that's because I leave those communities feeling better. I don't go to places that make me feel bad. And I think that it is important to understand that your energy is the thing that you need to figure out how to manage because you are going to need that fortitude to get through the recession. And especially if you have attention problems because you have ADHD, you're neurodivergent in some way, if you have energy problems because you deal with chronic illness or disability, like you don't get the opportunity to spend all of your energy on things outside of your control. You don't have that capacity, so focus on where you can put the energy. Okay, and then what I promised, the last thing that I promised that, the last thing I can promise, I promised to talk about, which is like, how do you care about future, like really far out in the future things if you're younger, like putting money in your retirement account when it feels like, is the world even going to be around for that long? And it is okay to put off certain financial goals during recessions. It's okay to just focus on survival. But here's my, as a retirement plan consultant, pitch for continuing to contribute to your retirement during a recession. So I was not making very much during the last recession. Like I averaged somewhere between $800 and $1,200 a month for almost all of the last recession. And I still continue to put money into my IRA. I put $50 a month the entire time, even when I was in school, even when I was in AmeriCorps, even when I was a St. John Bosco house worker as a Catholic worker. And the reason I did this is because even though it sucked to look at my balance and see things going down, I knew that I wasn't buying the dollar value. I was buying assets. So I was putting $50 in and I was buying myself a little piece of a mutual fund, and I was buying that. I was dollar cost averaging. I was buying when it was low. Stocks were down. I got those on sale. And the advantage of buying them when they were low is that later on, they are going to be worth so much more. So even though there's been ups and downs, I bought things while they were down. One of the advantages of continuing to contribute to your retirement account, and maybe you don't go, maybe you're, putting less in your retirement account because you need to be putting more money in cash or because your expenses have gone up, but you're still contributing in some way. As long as you're investing that money, you are buying pieces of an asset. You are not buying the dollar value, and you are buying low and selling high if you sell later on. From a tax perspective in the United States, I will also say you will not get short-term capital gains taxes if you are buying for the long run, so you might as well buy now. New Bold One says, can confirm from personal experience regarding community helps you get through hard times. Angela says, I feel the same when it comes to thinking about the collective. It drains the energy and stresses me out. I think it's a lot easier to approach like individuals than it is, and to think about individuals, because you can see that people are trying to do good things in the world. Sometimes I believe that their core values do not match mine, and therefore what they think is good is not what I agree with is good. But I don't believe this is my personal philosophy, but I don't inherently believe most people are evil. I think that people are trying to do what they think is moral. It's just that their morals often don't line up with mine. And there are things that certain actions that I certainly think are evil. But I also believe that my upsetness at maybe what I view as apathy on the part of the collective is actually just the manifestation of everyone being overwhelmed about what they should focus on. And so if you find the thing that you feel like you can give energy to, that you can focus on, and then you're working with other people that are working towards that thing, it's likely that you'll feel more optimistic because you've got a group of people that are trying to do something. Even if that something is trying to get a speed bump installed on your street. Minnie says, I had a crazy few weeks. I had to drop out of college because my parents suck. They promised to pay for tuition and they only gave me $600. So now I have to navigate disability and student loans for 2023. I will say you are so informed and you do such an excellent job of like being strategic with all of the like setting things up, Minnie, that I'm extremely sorry that your parents said that they were going to pay college tuition and then they didn't. But I genuinely believe that you will get it sorted and that you are going to do an excellent job because I know you have the resources to do it. And yes, you should make more YouTube videos about it because escaping poverty is a nightmare in North America. Absolutely, especially when dealing with disability and benefits. Should we eat the donut, y'all? Does anybody have any hot recession, existential crisis dealing with tips that they want to give? Let's eat the donut. Then we have flu for the week. And then I think I need to like go carve this pumpkin perhaps. But if you've got any good tips for surviving, let me know. Add it on. Donut time. All right, this is Talking Dough and Eating Donuts. So we do eat a donut. And this is a vegan pumpkin mousse donut. And like I said earlier, I don't think I'm going to like it that much, but I'm going to try. Oh, it's very sugary, y'all. I'm not getting the pumpkin yet. I'm just getting the, like, overwhelm. I forgot the mousses are really terrible to eat on camera. It's a lot of sugar. Oh, I just got the pumpkin. I would say it's more like I'm getting the pumpkin spice than the pumpkin flavor itself. Honestly, okay, my problem is not the mousse. It's the icing. I don't like the icing. The bottom is good. The mousse is okay. It's a lot, but the icing is just so sugary. Okay, if you like really sugary donuts, I would say this 3.5 out of 5. I don't really like super sugary donuts, so I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. I will finish it later, but it's so much sugar. Yeah, 3 out of 5. That's my verdict. Jackson says, where do you get your donuts? So all the donuts almost all the donuts that I eat, unless I'm traveling, come from Dough Donuts here in Portland, which is a vegan, very outrageously flavored donut shop. I'll actually probably do two different donuts next week because it's the last day. It's the last Sunday for the seasonals, and I haven't eaten all the seasonals. Minnie says, thanks. It means a lot hearing from you. My parents give horrible financial advice. My mom wants to deposit less in my disability savings account to get less of the $10,500 government match. Yeah, that doesn't sound like very good financial advice. Matched money is what is good. Angela asks what the icing tastes like. It just tastes like sugar. I mean, it just tastes like sugar. It's not, I don't think it's a flavored one. Dough is spelled D-O-E. Yes, yeah, it is a, like dough, a deer. It's not Dough's Donuts, is what their Instagram profile says, because deer cannot own donut shops. Aaron also might eat a donut on his live stream next week. So we will see one of the savory donuts, although it has cilantro on it, and Aaron's got the like cilantro thing where it tastes like soap. All right. We are gonna try to watch this weird pumpkin TikTok, and you all are gonna tell me if I've fallen for TikTok misinformation via Twitter like an old person. Anybody who, like, I don't know, knows a lot about the world of pumpkins, pumpkin carving. Because I kind of want to try these, like, hacks. All right.
Nasty strings, the easier. It literally cuts the job in half.
Hopefully the sound came on.
Did your mom ever tell you the do's and don'ts of pumpkin carving? Don't stand and carve your pumpkin. Sit. Just put them on your lap. Now time to cut the bottom of your pumpkin, not the top. Don't do this. Use your hand mixer instead. Get all those strings cleaned up. Your mixer did the hard work of loosening all those strings. When designing your pumpkin face, use a dry erasable red marker that you can get rid of the lines after you carve. If you don't want to struggle using a knife to carve your pumpkin, just use a soft-headed mallet and your cookie cutter. And just push it right through. Remove all your red.
I hope you can all hear this, because otherwise I'm just sitting here.
Vaseline and rub it on all the open cut surfaces. It'll keep your pumpkin moist, won't dry out as quickly, and it should last about 1 to 2 weeks. And if you want a beautifully scented jack-o'-lantern, try sprinkling some cinnamon right on the top. And over the candle she goes. And she smells delicious. Happy Halloween. I'm gonna remove all the nasty strings the easier way. It literally cuts the job in.
Cutting the bottom of the pumpkin sounds fake. Also putting it on your lap seems like a good way to put the knife, to get a knife in your, I don't know. I think we used to,
use your hand mixer instead.
I think we used to carve it, on our laps when I was a kid. I feel like that. Putting it in your, cutting the bottom of the pumpkin sounds fake. I don't know. We used to cut the bottom of the pumpkin and then put the candle in it, but we'd also cut the top too, so there was like airflow. But the cookie cutter thing, I mean, just sounds brilliant. The levels you all go to for Halloween never ceases to amaze me. It's like legitimately pretty much the only holiday I celebrate other than Election Day, which in the US comes like right after. But here's what I gotta say about Halloween. What is not to like about it? Because it's dressing up in costumes, it's meeting your neighbors, walking around, and eating candy. It's like the best. Adults are allowed to eat candy and dress in costumes at work. I feel like this is great. Also, it is people lighting up squash with candles when it is a very dark time of year. I am a big fan of this. It's like the International Pedestrian Holiday. It is a good holiday. I am just patently a fan of it. Newbold One says, it's like the 1st of September comes around and everyone in the US is like, bing. It's, I think, an important holiday. I actually think it's like a North American thing because Dias de los Muertos is the day after Halloween, and that's like a very big Latin America holiday. So I think it's like this whole side of the world. The mixer is an interesting touch, but you need the right style beaters with the edges and not the round wire style. Oh, like like not the whisk style, but those kind. I think most people have those. Angela says, I want to do that. You've carved a pumpkin once, but it was a tiny one? Oh my gosh. I've carved so many pumpkins in my life. But so I'm pretty happy because we actually biked out. Every year I swear I'm going to bike out. I said this last week, but every year I swear I'm going to bike out to the pumpkin patch and like go get the pumpkins and then also do the corn maze. And then I like never do it. And so the years that I usually do carve a pumpkin, I like get it from the grocery store. But this year I was like, I'm going to do it. And I let a ride out with 12 people last weekend. So I'm hoping to make it an annual tradition because as long as I lead a ride out, then I've got external accountability and I'll do it. And it was really fun, even though it was unseasonably warm. But the rain has finally started in Portland and we are now finally to Halloween weather and I'm very happy about it. All right, should we do flu for the week? And then we should go. Eric says, I'd be up for sharing of the donut segment between YouTube channels. I wonder if we could do that. I'd have to move it to the top of my stream, but I think that could be interesting if we like did it at the same time. Although it might like break the whole universe if I try to do it at the same time. All right. I think we'll do flu for the week. And then if anybody has any hot recession tips and they want to join with their hot recession tips, just let me know. Okay, so flu for the week, in case anybody is wondering, is a recurring but not always weekly segment of the floofs in the lives of our personal finance society members, which are people that support Oh My Dollar with $1 or more on Patreon. So you can join at ohmydollar.com/support if you are interested in it. And really all it does is it supports transcripts, server costs, and the work that I do teaching GLBTQ youth financial literacy, especially youth experiencing homelessness, which I have lots and lots of workshops coming up in November. And then as well, I'm doing partner workshops in tax season in January with a lot of the different foster youth and homeless youth organizations that work with GLBTQ youth. So we've got a lot of stuff coming up, and I am not kidding. It is that dollar helps. And one of the advantages of being a personal finance society member is that your floofs get shown on the live stream. So, here is our floof. Wait, why is it not showing up? That's the wrong one. Come on, camera. I don't know why it decided it didn't like me. Oh, I unshared it. We're doing a great job here, you guys. I know how to run a live stream. All right, so this floof of the week is called Dingby. And this is Ursula from the Oh My Dollar Forums, who is a Personal Finance Society member's very cute golden retriever. Digby is named for a town in Nova Scotia and technically the parent's floof. Loves everyone, dislikes walks, wants to show you his stuffy, and is somewhat actually interested in retrieving, like a golden retriever. Oh, look, there's a stick here in the grass. Look at that face. This is a face right here. This is a good floof. Yes, the eyebrows. I agree, the eyebrows. Look at this one. Yes. Like, I have given up on this walk. I have decided I will just sit here. Also, there's a nice Halloween-themed lead there. Oh, this is the stuffy that he wants to show you. So Digby is trying to show you his stuffy. I can't tell what the stuffy is, but you can tell that it's got a well-worn butt there. Like, it has been carried around a lot. And then, oh, here's another stuffy. This one looks to be a monkey. Yes, reviews are in. Very boopable. Good eyebrows. 100 out of 10. I agree. This is a good fluffer. Digby is very cute, and we are all a fan. Congrats. That is 100 out of 10 floof right there. If you are a Personal Finance Society member, you can drop them on the Floof of the Week thread on the Personal Finance Society Lounge on the Oh My Dollar forums, or there is a form that gets that is mailed out on the Patreon. All right, tell me what you are looking forward to this week. And a quick reminder that Budgetober is going on the Oh My Dollar forums. It is a totally free community accountability for your budget. And if you do a check-in for all 4 weeks with budgeting, then I send you a free sticker anywhere in the world. And while technically there's only a week left of it, if you join, I'll probably send you a sticker anyway. So you can still join. You'll only get 1 week badge on the forums, but I'll probably still send you the sticker. I'm kind of a sucker, and I just enjoy sending stickers out. It's like one of my favorite times of the year. Aaron says, I am looking forward to building all of the shelves for the studio. So I think there'll be a video about this on the House Files channel, actually, but up at the studio, there is this like room that I've mentioned. I even showed a picture of it before, and then I got yelled at by Aaron. But there is like a room of doom in there that's like the storage room / washing machine room / bike parking room. And it was terrible. Aaron put in a ton of work. I put in a tiny amount of work. And a container store closet designer put in a lot of work to help us figure out how to make a better plan for that room. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be like home edit, like look at our color coordinated thing. Like the walls aren't even finished in there. However, it is going to dramatically lower my stress levels to not have to fight the stress that is that room. Also, when I showed a picture on the live stream, Aaron was like, oh, that does look worse in picture form than it feels to me. But I was like, that's how it feels to me every time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those being built. I am looking forward to this week, like it's Breakfast on the Bridges Halloween edition. And 15 years into doing Breakfast on the Bridges, the Halloween B&Bs are still probably my favorite because even though it does mean I have to get into costume at like 5:30 or 6 in the morning, I mean, how rad is it to be dressed up in a costume while it's usually pouring rain and hand out free food and coffee on a bridge? I usually really enjoy it. I am hopefully going to make my costume today, like after this live stream, because I'm going as a spooky haunted version of the bridge, but also like the way that I'm making the bridge for it is 17th century like cage panniers, but I'm gonna wear them like outside, like steampunk style, and I'm gonna turn them into the bridge that I'm trying to be. We'll see how it's gonna work. I'm hoping it works. Maggie into Wood says, I am writing non-fic fiction for the first time in years, and it's giving me life. Writing. I don't know if I said reading. That sounds exciting. I am excited for you. Although, I mean, I think fic is a great thing to add to the world, but I'm excited for you that you're writing something that isn't fic. Newbold One says, I'm finishing off my first totally built from scratch 40% sized mechanical computer keyboard, which I'm very much looking forward to using. Angela says, I'm excited to not be sick anymore and can go back to the gym. Oh, that is very exciting. Everybody is a very big fan of mechanical keyboards. Eric says, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for doing my work for me. I keep forgetting. Yeah, subscribe. Also, I got my first YouTube paycheck like this past month, and I was going to do a video about how I invested and used my first YouTube paycheck after 16 years on YouTube, because I'm real good at this YouTube thing. You know, I got other things going on. I still haven't done the video though, but I think it would be worth doing because, you know, people like investing videos. Amanda says, I'm really excited for my brother's job interview tomorrow. It's the first he's had in a few years, and I really want to see him get a better job to where he's actually appreciated. Woot! I'm excited for that too. I remember the last time your brother was looking for a job, which I think was before he got the like current job that he has, and it was just like so viscerally stressful. I need to probably do some job hunting stuff myself, as has been talked about on the Oh My Dollar forums, and I just like that. I find nothing worse than having to justify why I would be a good employee. Like, I enjoy the selling part of it. Like, I've done a lot of grant writing, so I don't like mind writing it on paper. I don't mind doing it in the actual interview, but the idea that I just have to go around and hunt and then do the work of trying to convince people to hire me, I don't know. I don't think anybody really likes job hunting. If you do like job hunting, let me know, because I would be surprised. I think it's like a kind of unpleasant experience. I have been very lucky that like most of the past, like, I don't know, 10 years, most of my jobs I've gotten not by applying for them. And I have gotten them because they just kind of fell on my lap. And the advantage of being self-employed is that I have other income. But I am kind of looking around at other financial services jobs, and those tend to be more regulated because I have a license. So we'll see. Sending him good thoughts, though. Environmental storytelling in games is so interesting. Oh, man, I missed that. Jackson says, I'm excited the video I'm working on about ecological literacy in video games, specifically Battlefield 2042. Okay, I don't know what like 90% of that means, but I know what ecological and literacy means, and I'm very interested in this from that perspective. I am not a video game player, but I did like a bunch of when everybody was doing Animal Crossing, I did a bunch of videos on the economics of Animal Crossing, because I love to talk about like the internal economics of things, and I think it would be very fascinating to talk about the economies in a lot of video games. Amanda says, yeah, his job search was just a pit of shit. Well, I'm looking forward to that, Jackson. And people should go subscribe to Jackson's channel, because that Gaylor video is great. And I'm looking forward to finishing the last like 20 minutes of it, because I wasn't able to finish it because I had to go live, y'all. But sometimes that people have crap on the YouTube algorithm, but like sometimes it sends me videos that I am just delighted to get, and they aren't necessarily from big accounts. Newbold One says, did you call it turnips and tutus? No, let me see if I can find what it was. When was everybody really into Animal Crossing? Do you guys remember? It was like early pandemic, right? Let's find the... Let's see, videos. Oh, I love that it only shows me my regular videos on mobile and not my live streams, which is like all I do. Oh no. Playlists. Show all. All right, now I have no idea, y'all. Why won't it show me my... live streams. Oh well. Anomaly Animal Crossing. Maybe that'll work. I probably put it in the tags. Someone else is going to find it before me. And this is very thrilling. Okay, it's called The Economics of Animal Crossing Stock Market. But stock is spelled this. So you can find it. Streamed 2 years ago. Man, that's deep recession. I still had pink hair. Or deep COVID right there. I still had the pink hair. Even got long during the recession, so. Aaron put it in the chat so people can go watch it there. Animal Crossing is so fun and relaxing. Yeah. My pandemic EB games had a line up around for corners. Oh my gosh. April 2020. Yeah, I remember it was like peak early pandemic. But I think at the point where we realized we were never going to leave the house again. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining. I will be here same time, same place, 11:30 Pacific, 14:30 Eastern, and I believe next week, yes, next week it is still October, so it will not have changed in Europe and Australia yet, so that we will be at 7:30 British summertime still. So same time, same place next Sunday. And we will be reviewing budgeting apps next week. And I think the week after that, possibly if Jackson's down for it, we might talk about Taylor Swift and have a nice, it's No Stress November the week after that. So it is going to be like a chill, we're gonna focus on chill stuff before we dive into open enrollment season and have to talk about American healthcare. We need some like nice, calming culture topics before we dive into the absolute chaos that is open enrollment season. It was lovely. It was lovely to be here with all of you. Stay safe, stay hydrated, pet a cat if you have one available, and I will see you all soon.